Hello, it's Fadi Kuder here, another episode with Kanata on the Rocks. I'm your local realtor in Ottawa, and we're joined today with Houry Avedissian with HA Square. Hey, Houry, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Fadi, for having me.
Thank you so much for, giving us the time and kind of coming on the show. The whole premise of the show is really to just let people know about Ottawa businesses, what we're all about, and really to just bring a lot of light to this wonderful city that we call home. So what I would like to do is I would like to kind of get to know your business a little bit more. So I'd love to start with you just kind of give us like the 10,000 foot overview about the business and what is it all about, and then we'll get started from there.
Well, my business, HA Squared Architecture and Design, has started in Ottawa back in 2009. It became like this one project that led to another. So I started designing custom homes, custom modern homes in the Westboro area. And I had a friend who was in the industry and he said, you should be doing this here. You can try this out. And I'm originally from Montreal and I had all my education from University of Montreal and experience. So I came in with a different perspective because it was a very different environment to do housing or something like this. I hadn't done that before. I was working in high-end tower work in the commercial space in Montreal, downtown core and stuff.
Oh, that's very interesting. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, yes. Well, we're going to get there. So I'm going to explain to you the evolution. That's the exciting part of this.
Yeah.
This is why I started the premise, because that's where I started from. So switching gears from large tower scale work to honing the design scale to small, where I can take care of everything, it was an exciting challenge. And I went all in. So I was, at the very first couple of projects, I was micromanaging every aspect of it and even project managing the construction with the contractors, just so I can be in the pit, learning all the ins and outs of it. Because as a woman in this industry, they're either going to shed more light on you, so you better know your answers and you better be prepared for whatever could come about. And I wanted to be very vigilant on it. So I did a lot of research before I started presenting the work to contractors, and it was exciting because from school to a construction site, it's a different ballgame. You really have to know your stuff, and you don't get that training in university, and you don't get that training when you're starting off either, if you're doing only design like I was. So it was an exciting time, and I really honed that part of my career for the next 10 years, building the high-end modern space in Ottawa. And it was just like one project led to the next project. But to me, it was more like passion project almost. It was me running my own projects on my own. I didn't have a staff. I was doing it all. And I was also living in Montreal at the time.
The beauty of a business, right? Running it all by yourself.
Yes. Yes. And now, in fact, in my mind, it was not even a business. It was just me doing my work of art that I love. And it was a passion thing. And I just devoted myself to the craft and putting out the best representation of me through my work and the creativity that I want to bring to the city. I wanted to highlight and put Ottawa on the map by doing that. And I got the chance to do that already on my second job, where I was featured in the Canadian Wood Council book. And it was an amalgamation of all kinds of projects from around the world, but it kind of synthesized that in a local book like that. And it was exciting to be selected and have my project shortlisted, the Treehouse. And it kind of started a real beautiful love affair with the city. So I didn't want to look back, and I haven't really. So I've given all I have to this market in this space. And then up until 2009, where started the bigger scale projects. I was getting bigger and bigger projects in terms of scale also, and budget and stuff. And it became a different kind of experience where I started wanting the product to be exactly like the work we had designed. And then, budgets and stuff like that sometimes makes things change gears.
Yeah.
And you put in a lot of energy into these projects. Like I put a lot of myself into these projects. And I realized it's serving a couple only at a time, a couple of couples at a time. And then suddenly when the end of 2019 came along, and my friend who wanted to upgrade his furniture store and asked me, listen, I have this property this building that I just leased already on Preston Street. Can you give me a hand with making this work out? I'm like, okay, let's go see it. So we went to see it and put some drawings together as to how to make the space work. But we hadn't started doing the study of the actual building itself. So once we did all that and we realized all the work ahead, we just fell right in the heart of a pandemic.
Yeah, interesting times.
It was very interesting times. So obviously you're in it. You can't stop. You can't look back. You just keep moving forward, and that's been the motto. Never look back. And for him, anyways, also I had so you don't have a choice. We're in it now. You've already leased, and so I know that there's a lot of work to be done on this building, which is the challenge with an old building. You have to do that legwork up front. You have to be prepared for all the remediation that's going to be involved in a building that was built in the 1950s. So that's the biggest challenge we had, getting the building to a clean state, a clean, workable state, peeling
So for
back.
the folks that are watching, just tell us a little bit more about what a clean state looks like, and what do you mean by you had
Yes.
to kind of peel it all off?
Right. So because of the year the building was built, and it's an old, it was like an old industrial type of building that has a big warehouse space as well, and it was serving a kitchen supply system, but it also had a repair section to it. So it was a bit industrial as well, and had a warehouse in it. So it had a lot of product that was used to build it back in the 50s that was contaminated. So lead, asbestos, mold, all the things you don't want in your building. That
All the
makes
nightmares that you
all
don't
the
really-
that
yeah.
makes it unhealthy. On top of that, there was structural damage and water infiltration, and like it was the full gamut of problems in one square box.
And it looks like a beautiful square box the way it is right now. It's not a box anymore. It's just a very, very beautiful building that actually, more like an icon on Preston Street. When I came and visited, I was very, very surprised by the way it looks, how you designed the office. The office is just so elegant. It speaks highly of the work that you've done.
Thank you
as
so
well.
much.
I wanted to peel back on some of the things that you've mentioned. Tell me a little bit more about how does it feel as a woman in this industry?
You know, it's something that I think my mother, who's a very strong woman, and she's always done things her way and never kind of felt like she can't do anything, instilled in me. And I guess that's part of the reason I feel like there's no challenge I can't overcome, because I've never been taught not to. So I know that it's a very challenging industry, especially for women in it. But I found my way to kind of step away from the world of the corporate world, where I have to be told what to do. And I think that I wanted that independence to be able to learn it, because I was seeking the information, but I wasn't able to get it. Because I used to say, okay, I want to learn how to do technical drawings. And when you're coming at a university and you're good at design, which was my strength, right away they used to hone in on that. And then I used to do the 3D models and come up with the design and everything, which is extraordinary for someone coming out of university at 25 years old. For me, it was amazing. And then after a while, I realized, well, I can't execute after that. Like, what comes after that, right? And then if I'm going to stay that, then I'm not going to grow as an individual. So I used to challenge my bosses, and I wanted that experience, and I couldn't. So for me, it was like stepping out, doing the hard work on my own, and getting the opportunities on my own to do that, getting my own projects to do that. And then I realized, okay, well, that's how I'm learning every time. By doing it on my own and on every starting point, it gave me the greatest barometer and tools in order to refine that when I do the bigger scale. So this building here was a great example of that. So I did that for the first project, the treehouse, the first one that got on the map. And by project managing it, I understood all the complexities of housing. And I did make it complicated. I love to make it complicated off the gates. That way I can be challenged to do the easier, everything else seems easier.
Yeah.
So this building, just because all of the constraints we had, just as the structure was so weak, and we had to fix all that, that was the biggest hurdle to overcome. Making the building pretty was the easy part. It was like, once all of that is done, we're out of the trouble zone, and now we're talking with a healthy building, with a clean building. Now we can have some fun with materials and stuff like that. But getting to that point was the challenge.
Yeah, it's really like it's safe to say, kind of similar to taking care of yourself, right? Like if the bones are
yes.
healthy, your structure is healthy, you're doing things the right way. Well, you can work on the extras. Losing a few
Absolutely.
pounds here and there, that's kind of fine. But really, it's just like, from the sounds of it, sounds like, okay, well, the makeup of this building was not the greatest. We got to get it at a level that's, acceptable, and then kind of work from there. And that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, well, technically, the structure of the whole building itself was the makeup is what we put it after. Yeah,
Perfect.
in a way, yeah. But exactly that. It's just needing it to be healthy. once we got to that point where everything is sealed now, nothing is leaking, nothing is falling apart, and then we've got all of that under control, and then we'll take it from there to make it pretty. And then that's where the rush job was, like, that's where the client was like, hey, we'll get in. I'm like, okay. So these are the things that we had ordered already a year ago, so we should have it all, and getting the people to put it together in that stage. And we had everybody on a holding pattern because of the COVID pandemic, and because we still had promised to do the next step, but we kept getting shut down. So because it was a retail building and not residential, like where most of the contractors were able to continue working, we kept on getting shut down, which was difficult for a small business who still had to pay that rent and still had to waste time not being able to advance the project and start selling sooner.
It feels like it's forever ago, but it's still kind of haunting people, like the way that the pandemic was and what it did to affect some of the businesses, for sure.
Yes.
I wanted to kind of, again, go back on your old experience in Montreal.
Yes.
Doing those big buildings and things like that. Talk to us a bit about that and give us kind of an understanding what that looks like, and how does it compare to what you're doing today?
That's exactly why I'm here, because I'm so excited to talk about where I'm headed next. That's where all of this experience doing this commercial job, it felt like, again, like that next stepping stone as to where I want to take this. I realized that doing a commercial job, it really invigorated me on such a primary street, a main street of Ottawa, and having an effect on how that street now looks. And having that kind of an impact in a place that's booming now, literally is booming. And then all the high rises coming around us. I live in one of them, for instance, and I get the chance to see it and experience it, and it's close to my work. And I feel like that's such an invigorating thing, where not only it's just you're satisfying only a set of clients, you're getting the chance to make an impact on a city. And that to me is like the biggest wake-up call that I think or that aha moment that I was looking for. And now how can I do that next on another project? And then the COVID pandemic is an enabler to that next phase for something I want to talk about.
Would it be fair to say like that particular project was a little bit nostalgic to what you used to do in Montreal?
It was. Well, actually, no, because I didn't even know I could do that then. So when back in Montreal, I was a dreamer. I used to thrive on creating projects that I wanted to realize. It never occurred to me that one day I'm going to be able to do that. And so starting to peel back all break down those barriers and peel back those layers, and now doing them, and actually, it's easier to build new as opposed to changing something that's existing. And the thing is, now in Ottawa, downtown core, as we've had multiple conversations, that is actually going to be predominant. There are so many buildings that have no function because there's nobody using them.
Yeah, especially on the office space, like with the pandemic, there's a massive shift of a lot of people working from home. Companies realize that it just doesn't make sense. It's not really sustainable for us to continue doing real estate, paying for real estate when, people in the office now 3 or 4 days, maybe 2 days sometimes. Even the federal government, there's a lot of, some of the contracts that we've seen in the federal government have been either provoked or canceled or not renewed because they know that, hey, look, we really only need the guys at the office maybe once or twice a week. So if we can do a shared space and then just kind of reduce that real estate footprint and then just have them work from home, it's a win-win situation for everybody. Less pollution, the whole 9 yards. Which leads me to believe, well, what are we going to do with these buildings?
Right.
So that's the next evolution.
That's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm excited about, and that's exactly what I wanted part of. I'm excited to be a part of that next phase where I can get involved in all these types of projects that are abandoned. Nobody knows what to do with them, and how can we bring people and life back into Ottawa downtown core? And maybe these people who will work in these buildings could have a work-life balance in the same building. So how can we transform this building into being usable space both residentially and commercial, and you can now have both
it's a mixed use sort of space where it's predominantly residential and then some sort of commercial that could suffice and actually support the residential building that's in there.
Well, the healthy downtown core would involve all of the uses of having both residential and different business scale also functioning at the same time, and a lively neighborhood, right? So if it's just dead downtown on commercial space and nobody's there, no kidding, it gets abandoned, it gets misused, and then we have all kinds of other trouble that occur from that.
And I've noticed actually even on the commercial real estate, look, there is a huge difference now with, for example, like you're looking for a restaurant. Most people that are looking for a restaurant, they're not looking for downtown. There's about 30% vacancy right now in some of the areas downtown, and then the prices had dropped as well too. Because they're assuming like, what am I going to be there? There's no offices. People are hardly there.
Right.
It's mostly moving out west. It's moving out to places like Barhaven, places like Kanata. You go to Barhaven now on like a lunch hour, it's like rush hour. Kanata is the same thing. It's literally rush hour. So a lot of the times when I'm doing meetings and what have you, I'm avoiding that rush hour. I'm either having to do it after or later in the evening just so I can avoid completely having to be caught in that. With that being said, I wanted to kind of go back a little bit and just dig a little bit more on yourself as far as getting you engaged with projects like this or getting you engaged with the public that are looking to build a dream home or dream project. What does that look like?
Getting engaged, you mean hiring me, you mean? Well, I'm an email away or a phone call away. I have my street front now accessible, so we can book an appointment and you can come into this beautiful office that you so kindly acknowledged. It was a dream of mine to be able to create that, and having your own office that you're able to build yourself, and it becomes your calling card and kind of your business card de facto when you come into the space. And I was able to do all the fun detailing and then explorations of on a tiny square space, rectangular I should say, where I could do all those things and show what we've done, and then I can also show my clients the furniture side of it and what we did to the transformation that we did to that building. So to me becomes an opportunity to say, you're welcome. This is what we can do, what we can do for you. And then here's the example of what you're in right now is one of them. And so the high-end space, I'm not turning my back on it. Of course, when a client wants to do something special and unique, I'm there for it. But I certainly want to put my attention on serving the people and the masses as a whole, and serving the community, and being able to find the right building or the right team around me so we can pull our resources together and make that a fun project, and then have a showcase in Ottawa and say, hey, we just did that. We just took something that was just sitting there idle, doing nothing, and now we've refound a purpose for it. And we're going to get people down to downtown core and start recreating the dynamic where we hope to have a thriving downtown.
So this really weird question has been kind of going around my head, and I'm just wondering if you've done any of those, the before and after sort of photos where like you snap your finger and then it just like looks amazing. Is that something that you could possibly share with us at some point?
I mean, can I do it for you if you're saying?
Yeah.
Of course, like that's our job, is to be that visionary. So when I come into any space, it's an automatic thing for me. I see the space, I know what I can turn it into. It's just an automatic gift that I'm blessed to have. And if I'm ever taken to a spot, I can already imagine where this could go. And then it's sometimes, actually, that's an interesting segue, because I have an example. I have this little carport client that asked me to do something like this, and it's just a small carport, but sometimes even that could be a little jewel, right? If you give them just enough love. And then, there's hydro wires and there's all these things. And I mean, I'm not looking at it as a problem, because it's something that we just have to overcome. But the client was like, oh, my neighbor told me this and you can't do that. And oh my God, we can't do our project. I'm like, this is just, the vision is there. And there's certain things that we just have to manipulate around to make it happen, because fundamentally this is a need. So it's just not worrying about the how. It's knowing what you want to do and having the image of that, and then pulling all the items together to make it work.
Yeah. So it sounds like basically an engagement with you is, okay, so here's the project, here's what I'm thinking, here's sort of my vision, and I don't know how.
Right.
And you're bringing in all the know-how,
right,
what to do, and then the sort of the visionary around putting it together.
Yes.
And then possibly picturing it with the client in a way.
Yeah, it's like a recipe book, right? You just come in and you say, I want, strawberries, I want banana, I want nuts, I want all these things. I want you to make me the best cake. And then we create that beautiful recipe together.
And it is that I've seen like some of the drawings, some of the finished product as well. It's a piece of art. It is a piece of art. And then that's the thing for me, like with architect, the way I look at architect, it's really just a way to define the city. And, you kind of have that luxury or privilege, I should say, of being able to kind of do that around cities like Montreal, here now, Ottawa.
Yes.
and hoping that the folks out there can actually see that and bring you on projects and have you kind of envision the project for them.
Yes.
With that being said, I just wanted to kind of understand a little bit, what does it take to be an architect?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Okay, so that, for me, it was an easy choice. It was just, when you have that straight line vision and dream as a kid, just always was fascinated by houses and buildings. And when I was a child, I used to look up and I'm like, okay, that's incredible. How does that happen? So it was always about honing your experience and anything you did to learn more about those things, right? So like it was just this dream of mine to do that, and then it was an easy 1, 2, 3 step, and I went straight to university directly there, and I felt at home. I felt like this is exactly meant for me, but you have to really love that idea that you have to love creating, you have to love drawing, you have to love solving problems. Solving problems is the majority of my job, but having a creative twist to it. You solve the problem, but you want it to look good. So you have to be able to do all of that in such a way that it becomes a concrete project. And it takes a lot of patience, a lot of resilience, a lot of inner strength.
I like how you call it concrete project, because a lot of times it is really concrete project.
Yeah, it always starts somewhere.
Play on words for
you
sure.
need concrete for sure. But yeah, it's like a resilience. You have to have that perseverance to keep at a project, because sometimes, your clients could be, they have a certain need or a certain price point, and you will have to make it happen, and you have to be resourceful, and you have to find the way, and you can't give up. So if you don't love it, if you're not passionate about it, you won't be a good architect. And that's simple truth. And some people know that, so they reserve their skill sets to do things that are technical, or you could do spec writing, you could do all kinds of different aspects of project management, but the creative aspect of running a business, which is now the new side to it. It's like, because if I want to do this type of higher rise projects again, because I had a taste for it, and it never went away. It was exciting because when I was 25, I got exposed to big developers looking at a design that I proposed for the downtown core of Montreal, and that resonated with me really strongly. And to have someone believe in you at that early stage was fabulous. And lucky that I got that opportunity, and then I lived with it for this long. But now it's like, okay, it's my turn. I want to get on that on my own. So,
what would you say, like, if you were to kind of classify architects, what sort of classification would you give them, and how they differ?
Well, an architect is a master of ceremonies. He's the architect itself. He's in charge of rounding everyone together.
I'm going to correct you for a second. It's he or she.
She in my case. That's true. Well, master. I'm still a mistress of ceremonies. You can't say that. Well, but you said the different types of architects. Well, there is. Look, basically, it's an architect can do commercial or residential. So they could do anything, right? But so everybody has a specialty. I started off doing just design work, so it wasn't much of a direction yet, but I just knew where I wanted to go. Honing into residential, I just did that to perfect the craft. But an architect who's licensed can do basically anything, right? It's what you're passionate about, and that's where your strength drives you.
So define a little bit more, like just maybe hone in on the master ceremony part of architecture.
Right, because you see, an architect is in charge of doing all of the work and then coordinating with all the different professionals and consultants and all the engineers and all the different people that help you put that cake together, essentially. And you're in charge of the whole umbrella. You've got the whole umbrella under you. And then you have to hire your engineer who's in charge of doing the structural work. You have the grading engineer. You have the HVAC and the heating, cooling, all of that stuff, the plumbing, all the things, all the different professionals that you have to pull in all that expertise together. But it's under your overview.
So it's essentially like the architect, if I can maybe put it in words that I can understand myself, it's more of a visionary. Here is the project, sort of 10,000 foot overview. Here's what it looks like. Here's what we're looking for. And then piecemealing it to, you're doing the design, for example, for the structure. You're doing the design for the HVAC. You're doing the design for that. So it's more like, if I'm not mistaken, it's more like a chef in the kitchen.
It's the
and then
chef,
you got the
yes.
sous chef, and you got all the different chefs that are doing other parts of the
Absolutely.
dinner.
It's exactly that. The chef has the rest and knows what the meal is going to be. This is how I want to design this. This is what the project is going to have to look like. And then I need you to create this aspect of it, and you have to now make sure this structural aspect works. You need to do this. I want all my plumbing to be hidden. We don't want to see anything. I don't want drop ceilings, so my HVAC guy has to be aware of what my ceiling heights and my space in between spaces have to look like. All of these things, and I want it to be also sustainable. So I have to have this flavor involved. So really, it's you overseeing that everyone is working towards the same common goal.
So, for the folks that've seen Hell Kitchen, what does that look like in architect terms?
Oh, okay. Yeah, Chef Ramsay, he's a beast. I hope it's not that bad. No, I don't aspire to be anything like that. But there is a component where you have to keep people in line with the job. So that always has to be the common goal. There's your regular meetings, you have your regular team reviews, and if something is not working, it's our job to catch it because it's in my drawing. So I have to oversee what dimensions for ductwork is there. And if it's not fitting, then something is off. If I have only 10 feet available, then I have to make sure all of this works. So you have to constantly cross-reference and double-check all that stuff. And we have good resources like BIM software now that can help you, but that didn't exist before. So we had to do that. So you have to be trained to know how to do that anyway. And so software has facilitated that as well.
What would you consider one of your most interesting projects here in the city that someone can actually go look at and see?
Most interesting. I mean, I have a variety of different flavors of residential that are beautiful, but I guess I'm very proud of my little project on Preston simply because of the transformation and then showcasing how it used to be. It's a simple box, but making that little box into something that adds such a flair and flavor to the city, and it's welcoming. You can come in, whereas a residential, you can only drive by. So it's not as easy, or hope for that person to sell the house so that you can
Go in for a
do
visit.
that. And I did have that. I had one of my projects, the Stairway to Haven project. It went for sale because a couple moved to Vancouver, and they did an open house, and I let my friends know who hadn't gotten the chance to come and check it out. It's like, well, open house, if you want to come see it, this
That's
is your
amazing,
opportunity.
yeah.
And I had a lot of friends coming in, and we did a live video and stuff like that about that. But yeah, drive-bys are easy to do. So if ever there's any of these projects, you guys can ask me which one, where they are, and you're allowed to drive in front of it. Yeah.
And just again, going back to the engagement with you, and what would you think? Like, what would you want to say to the audience as far as like sort of the biggest thing to watch out for before purchasing a land and deciding to do a project like that?
Oh, right. I would definitely say get your architect on board early, at least on a consultation basis. Get them in on the project early so they can do analysis for you and zoning review and study and see what you can do, feasibility, see the extent if what you really want is aligned with the lot that you're looking at, because that's everything. If you start off on the wrong property, then you won't get the same result at the end of the day. So paying for that original pre-design analytical service is something very valuable. And you'll get the good feedback off the gates, knowing where you're going, and then it's up to you if you want to continue working with that architect or not. So part of one of my marketing programs I've been working with, they're very strong on that, and I feel like that was something that would have been very useful to me early in my career had I had the opportunity to do that. Sometimes it did happen, like I did get involved in like my Galleria project. I did get involved with the client's selection of the property, which was amazing. But it doesn't always happen that way, and I think it's worth it because they always have the lot and off they go, and they want to do this and stuff, but not everything can work the way you want it to. So I think it's very, very useful because if you have the chance to find the most ideal lot, I think housing is a little different, but like commercial is even, or a different high-rise scale would be fundamental, of course.
Yeah, and then like you're really fighting sort of the resources, availability of resources available in the area. For example, like if you want to buy a piece of land in Manotick, well, there's only a few lots that are available, and you want to make sure that that lot at least fits.
Right.
And it's going to be giving you everything that you're hoping for in that dream house that you're going to put together, or that dream project that you want to put together. which sometimes I find kind of it's a battle because like you have that vision, you have that project, and then once you start, it just kind of deteriorates and it goes away from the main goal.
Well, that's the architect's job to keep in check with the client. That initial conversation and really telling your architect everything you want, like all of it. It's like I have to take serious notes about everything that's being said. How you live, how's your lifestyle, what do you want, what do you want to feel, how do you drink your coffee in the morning, where do you, like all of your habits and all those things. And the select a lot. If you like your morning sunrise and you're not facing that, and then you have to find a way to make that happen, it has to be altogether clear so that there are no room for error. And there is no way the architect will lead you wrong if you've given him all that information up front. And the honesty, right? And the budget.
Fundamentally. And honesty is the biggest thing because
Yes.
I find a lot of the times, like even now, like when I'm looking for homes for people, they're giving you sort of half the story sometimes.
That's the thing.
And you just got to keep pulling and keep pulling.
Keep
and
working at
a lot of the times by showing them multiples, you're actually getting a little bit more understanding from them, and it's easier, and they're feeling the trust just kind of comes
Yeah.
with time.
Yes.
But with that being said, when you're trying to put a project together from scratch, I always tell people, I'm like, if you really want to, have your dream home, you have to build it. But it sounds like not only you have to build it, but you also have to really be cautious of choosing the right lot for it as well too. And I think that's
And the right architect too.
Yeah.
You have to see. That's the thing. It's a relationship you're building, like any other. Like my wish would always to be that my clients love the work and invite me over for dinner, and then that's the kind of relationship you want to end up having. And then a lot of times the conversation about budget, it's difficult. They don't want to tell you, or they feel like, oh, we can still do it cheaper, and you'll never get it cheaper if that's the game plan. It's not going to work like that. It's not. And at the end of the day, you are going to have the asset. It's your property, even if the cost of this was a little bit more. I mean, it's not a blame game between the architect and you. It's just you wanted all these different things. And by the time we got to this point, this is what it cost, and you're still going to have the asset, and you're going to enjoy it for X many years. And that's the next question: how long do you want to live in the property? Is this a 5-year game, investment, or is this going to be a lifespan? Because if it's there, you're in it for the long term. Return on investment, it goes. It's not necessary to worry about that because it's your life that counts, and it's your valuable experience in that house. And the idea is to give it the best living quality of life experience that you can get out of that home.
Very interesting. And the one thing that I kind of just came up as we were talking here, as far as budget is concerned, how often do you feel like the projects are kind of veering away from the budget, and what do you do to bring it back?
How do I do that? Well, that's the tough one. It's the tough one because you have a certain idea for a square footage price. You have to always assume it's going to be a little bit more because prices are always rising. Nobody expected COVID and all the repercussions from that, and all the scarcity of materials and the cost of everything going up so much more. For now, it's a very hard game. But what we kind of tried to do is get value engineering early. So what that means is you get a contract, you hire someone. You have to hire them because they're not going to take it seriously otherwise, to at least do an evaluation of cost at a preliminary stage enough. And let's say your building is like $2 million job, and then from there, okay, so if you got room to maneuver 15 or minus plus, it's like quality, size, and budget. That's it. It's those three things always are fundamental to a successful job. If you want it to be cheaper, you're going to have to compromise on quality and size. One of those two things have to give. So the problem is a lot of people want all of it all the time. And then you just have to.
It's that tripod of sales.
That's the thing. You have to be
You
willing.
want quality, price, or service? Which one?
Yeah, and then a lot of people think, oh, I've done this before. I've done it in commercial. I've did these multi-units, but that's different because that's you earning, generating income on rental property is not the same as you wanting your beautiful home on the water and having everybody be impressed with it, but you're not going to be able to cut corners there. And a lot of times you start off with that plan and it doesn't go that way. So it's just you have to be able to be honest on your budget and know that once you start changing the course of the product will no longer reflect the work. And then it's going to be whatever you've chosen it to be.
How interesting are these conversations with homeowners or project, I guess, people that are hiring you in general?
Well, that's the thing. That's the honest part. You have to be able to get that out of them. And that's not an easy thing. I've had a very different range of clients. Some are lawyers, some are business owners, some are people who built before, and they all have a different approach to it, and some of them are more secret about their budget. I know one of them that I did, they never wanted to release that number because they thought that it affected my fees, but fundamentally it wasn't conducive of an open relationship, and it was uncomfortable at some place. So I'd rather have that understanding of what the client is, and I want to be able to vet that off the gate so that I can have a good relationship with them and an amazing final product, and everyone's happy.
So what's the next thing for Houry?
So now, like I said, I am actually very strongly looking at all the different available buildings and locations and lots and partnerships. Creating the right partnerships is exactly what I've been working on the last couple of months, as you know, and we've had many conversations about that, and finding the right key players that I want to be working with and taking solid notes about that and seeing with whom I'm going to align so that I can make those next steps.
Absolutely. It's the people that you sit with on the table that are going to determine your next level.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And sometimes you might not be at the right table. You just have to
That's right.
excuse yourself and go to the next.
That's right.
Just because maybe you're not respected or you're not appreciated at that one table, it doesn't mean anything.
No.
You're just in the wrong place.
Exactly.
Simply.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And I just wanted to kind of, again, with your sort of kind of vision of Ottawa, what do you want to tell people about Ottawa?
Ottawa is like a baby still. I think we're still at the precipice of what Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver
I love that word.
have been up to. It hasn't got it's so ripe for the taking. There's so much that we can do. There is so much that we can upgrade and work with, and we need that type of engagement now from professionals like me, and with the opportunity that lies ahead of us. Because let's just face it, I don't think the downtown core was working even when it was fully occupied.
No.
Because of the fact that it was a very one-track just business, and then everybody's gone. Why can't it be vibrant? Why can't we have that feel like where people live there, it's bustling all until 2-3 in the morning. I mean, it should be able to have that feel to it. And it's our job to create that. And
I think, the biggest thing with Ottawa downtown is a lot of people just in and out. And that has been sort of the scenario for a while. The folks that live there, it's a very, very sort of small amount compared to the size of downtown. It's not really feasible. Mm-hmm. And I think now more than ever, after the pandemic, all those offices that are empty, it just makes it literally, like you said, ready for the ripe. It's ready for you to start picking up and picking up buildings and transferring those into high-rise residential or mixed use or whatever you want to call it to make sure that it's full and it's vibrant and it's bringing people in,
bringing life, bringing community, bringing activity, and like making it exciting. And we can do that. It's going to take one project at a time, one building at a time. And I know there's a lot of conversation about it, but it's like being able to get your teeth into that very first one and making that first one as incredible as you can, and then showing that as the example, and then outdo that one next. And then everybody's going to want to challenge the other person to do that. Mm-hmm. And if we can get a community of us trying to do this, professionals and agents and everybody coming together and trying to do this as a team, I think we're going to get a lot more results and put Ottawa on the map just as strong as Toronto and all the other guys. Like, why not?
Absolutely.
It's the capital at the end of the day.
And what are your thoughts on the saying, Ottawa is boring?
Well, listen, I've made it my home, and I'm definitely not boring. I do. I do love the opportunity to come and go back home to Montreal, as I have family there and stuff. But I certainly love it here. I mean, I've created this as my new home, and it's who you have around you and what you make of it, right? And at the end of the day, and if you're doing things that are exciting and fun, boring is just not even a word in your vocabulary.
Should not be there.
No.
I keep telling people, if it's boring, look in the mirror.
Oh, yes. Oh, wow. I love it. Yes.
That's it.
That's it. What are
Because
you
at the
going
end
to
of the
do
day-
to change it,
exactly.
right? What are you
Like,
going to do?
I can find happiness in almost everything that I do.
There you go.
But the reason why is because I'm happy with myself.
That's right.
And I'm happy with the city that's
Yes.
very, very welcoming. There's so much going on here.
Yes.
There is so many good people. Like, I could walk downtown and I'd probably say hi to like 50 people.
There you go.
And the reason being is I don't know most of them, by the
Mm-hmm.
way. I'm just saying hi because that's how friendly they are. They're just easygoing. Everybody just wants to say hello.
Yes.
So this is a city that you want to be in
Mm-hmm.
and move in. And like you said, it's ready for the picking.
Yes.
It's so ready for it.
Yes.
And we're going to do so many great things. We're going to change the face of Ottawa.
That's right.
That's what it feels like.
I want
for
to be
sure.
a part of that. Yes.
Absolutely. Houry, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
and again, guys, really appreciate it. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like it, because this is going to be the place. If you want to know about Ottawa and any businesses in Ottawa, just let us know. And if you have any suggestions as far as what businesses we should interview, please let us know. Thanks again.